Welcome to this edition of Frontiers right here on Timpani Television. With me is Delina Kamaliza. This is a program that we talk about various issues affecting young people, women and children in the country and finding ways of how we can solve these problems. Today we are looking at a particular topic, women in entrepreneurship, particularly Malawian women in entrepreneurship. At least 34% of Malawi women are the head of their households. However, 64% of women in Malawi are living under the poverty line. As we all know, seeking for jobs can be quite a tough undertaking. But now we're looking at other avenues like entrepreneurship, women in business. How best can they support themselves and becoming economically independent? In today's program, as usual, I have a guest. I'm talking to Prisca Chipao. She's a legal consultant and an entrepreneur, owner of SAS Pazaz Boutique and executive director for Freeway Car Hire. She also sits as a sector leader under Commonwealth Business Women and is also involved in volunteer work. Welcome, Prisca.
Thank you so much, Rosamund.
Like I already said, we're talking about Malawian women in entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. The norm has it that when we think of women in business, we think of women who are selling flitters on the market. We think of women maybe who have gone just into basic tailoring. How would you define a woman in entrepreneurship?
Basically, I think the definition is the same, because right now women have actually proven to be equally capable, just like men, in joining industries that previously people didn't expect that women would venture into. Mm-hmm. You know, we have the likes of Rachel Sibani, who are actually making it in the technological in the technology industry. We have the likes of Bridget Banda, who are actually making it in the energy sector. We have women in construction work these days. You know, mm-hmm. We have the likes of Toria Jagalasi, mm-hmm. who has actually just started a bank specifically for women. Oh, wow. So I think women right now in Malawi are actually proving that we are equally capable to do whatever we set out our minds to do, mm-hmm. just like men mm-hmm. are making it out there.
Yeah, of course. And then now the other thing is that we've drawn from perception or cultures that we've grown up into, thinking that women cannot do so much in the business sector. Maybe as a country or as various cultures living in Malawi, how should we put our mindsets towards supporting women in business?
Basically, actually worldwide, it's actually been proven that women have a high probability of succeeding in business as compared to men. There are actually studies that have been conducted internationally. For example, there's a study that was conducted by the 1,000 Fortune companies that was conducted in 2015 that was able to establish that women actually have a chance 3 times more to prevail in businesses than men are. And that is basically attributed to how most women don't have a job, and so the business becomes their sole source of income. So they put in so much effort and so much passion into it, mm-hmm. thereby increasing the results. Mm-hmm. And also just the nurturing nature of women, yes. And the fact that society has bred us to grow up understanding how we need to respect the people around us. And so that comes into play when we're dealing with the employees, the customers, the clients. Mm-hmm. And so as a result, you know, that in turn translates into high results in the business. Mm-hmm. So generally, I think women are equally capable
of doing the same. Okay. So generally in our education system, we are not well supported with entrepreneurship skills or business skills. Most of the people that have succeeded in this country, it's either they've read it on their own or they went to school outside Malawi to focus particularly on business. Maybe how can stakeholders now come in to women who are willing to venture into businesses and give them the necessary skills?
Yeah, that's actually a very important point, and it's sad actually, because I've had the privilege of being in the education sector as a lecturer at a university, the Malawi Assemblies of God University, and it's sad that even at university level, the training is still centered around employment. We're still training our students, our young ones, to be employees when we should be training them to be entrepreneurs, because that is what Malawi needs at this point. Mm-hmm. We have underemployment, you know, and underpayment. Our employment rates are really, really low. So I think we should be training our young people to venture more into entrepreneurship so that they can create jobs. And so I think stakeholders can come in by, going in the outskirts and actually conducting trainings. If we can have platforms for business women in the urban areas, in the rural areas, the small scale business women, the medium scale business women, and actually conduct trainings where we can improve their skill sets, teach them the importance of having a strategic plan, the importance of having, let's say, for example, a bank account and, saving up your money, not just feeding from hand to mouth. The money that comes in today goes into the meal for that particular day. So I think, and then also partnering, even us as women, you have women who are maybe in the medium scale business mentoring the women who are in small scale businesses to be able to pull them up financially and maybe just supporting them emotionally.
Talking of finances, I'm glad you've mentioned the point of finances. The other issue that comes into play is that maybe a woman can have a big idea, a big business idea. But now the issue is, where do I get the financing for this particular project that I want to start? The way banks have worked, I've seen you've attended the Women in Business Forum under National Bank. Maybe is our banking sector well accommodating us to be able to work in our businesses?
Specifically the bank sector, I would say not quite. But for instance, the training that I attended, that was National Bank actually trying to show that they're willing to partner with women, because according to them, they said women have actually shown that they're the ones who've been capable in retaining the loans as compared to men. That's according to their research. So that's one of the reasons they've decided to partner more with women. But what they had said and advised more women is that you should just start. You start small. You start with whatever you have, and that's so that the bank can be able to see that your idea, you have faith in your idea, that you can actually put your own stake in your idea, and then they can come in to help you grow your business. But the challenge with most women is actually starting. But my advice would always be, sometimes you have a very big idea, but you start with a small one. So for instance, you initially want to open a shop, but you can start with selling one commodity and let that commodity grow into two commodities, and then eventually you'd have a shop. So I would still go with the bank's advice. Start small, and when people actually see that you are thriving in your stake, people would be interested to come in, because people don't just easily release money.
Of course. I've seen, like I said, you're sitting on the Commonwealth Business Women Forum as sector leader. As a leader, issues of policy come in. So now when it comes to financing, the issue is usually interest rates, and also access is another big problem already. But when you get to access that loan, the issue is now the interest rates, that they are too high. Maybe if under the Commonwealth Women in Business, what ways have you thought of to deal with this?
Well, unfortunately, the Commonwealth has just recently been launched in Malawi, so we haven't really started getting into the work. We're still like in the early stages of planning, establishing the sectors and having people under them. But we still really haven't gone into it. But I can gladly say that the government showed support, because like at our launch, we had the Minister of Gender coming in, and she confirmed that they're willing to partner with us and support us.
And whatever work you're going to be doing.
Yes.
All right, moving on. When women get into the bold step of venturing into businesses, sometimes it feels like maybe they can't go against the odds. Maybe they can't stand up to men that are already in those various business sectors. What sort of confidence should a woman have getting into business?
I think, first of all, just see yourself as a human being before you get to see yourself as a woman. Yes. Because it starts with you. It starts with your confidence. Sometimes it's up to us to change people's mindset. We shouldn't wait for the men themselves to come and tell. For example, leadership in Malawi. We have the 50-50 campaign that is ongoing. And there's been a lot of money pumped into that campaign, 1.1 billion, which is a lot of money. But so far, I haven't seen the fruits of it. For instance, like we have only one lady that actually contested for the by-elections, which is very, very poor. And so, first of all, we the women are not willing to stand up for ourselves, because if we want our voices to be heard, then we should also be willing to take up such leadership positions, because that will put us in a position where people can actually listen to us. But if we're not willing to put up the first step, then there is no change that is going to happen. So first of all, I think we the women should be willing to speak out. We should be a voice for ourselves and speak out, say out the challenges that we're facing, It's so funny that sometimes even men take advantage of privileges that are very common to everybody. For instance, you're talking about getting a loan from the bank. You find a man can go to the bank and access a loan, period. Nothing attached to it. But a woman goes to the bank to trying to access the same type of loan, and this person in the bank is expecting some benefits. You know, if you want me to give you this loan, you have to give me some favors. So already there's some biasness in the treatment, but they were trying to access the same kind of service. So I think it's up to us women to actually stand up and speak out those things and not just keep them to ourselves.
Right. I'm talking to Prisca Chipao. She is a legal consultant, owner of SAS Pazaz, and also an executive director at Freeway Car Hire. You're watching Frontiers right here on TVNE Television. Stay with us.
TVNE TV, Yonsei Bo.
Welcome back. This is Frontiers right here on TVNE Television. With me is Delina Kamaliza. I'm talking to Prisca Lawrence Chipao, who is the a legal consultant, owner of SAS Pazaz, and executive director at Freeway Car Hire, and also a sector leader under the Commonwealth Business Women, and also a volunteer at times. We've spoken quite a lot on women in entrepreneurship, women in business. When we talk about a woman being an entrepreneur, in your own words, the way you look at it, how best can you define it?
I think the definition stays the same, whether you're male or you're female. The definition of entrepreneurship stays the same. But basically, for women, I would say, according to some studies that have actually been conducted, it's proven that women are actually bound to be more successful as entrepreneurs as compared to men. You know, take for instance the study that was conducted by the 1,000 Fortune companies in 2015 that actually proved that women had a three times more chance to actually succeed as entrepreneurs as compared to men, and that is because of the passion that most women put into their business, because most women are not employed, so the business becomes their only source of income. Whilst as for men, you'd find they actually have a job and the business is like a secondary source of income. They're just doing it, to add up to the money they already have. So the woman puts in more effort into the business that she's doing, and so it results into more returns. And also that, naturally women, we're nurturing, we've been raised in society where we've actually been trained to be respectful in how we treat others. And so that also comes into play in how we handle our employees, our clients, our customers, who are actually the most important stakeholders in any kind of business. So I think if anything, any country should actually put more stake in the women entrepreneurs, in the women entrepreneurs, because that in turn will mean greater income for the nation. And like for instance here in Malawi, that we just had our 2018-2019 budget that has been released, and I think the Minister of Finance in his opening statement mentioned something to say that there is an expectation of a 3.9% increase growth in globally. And so Malawi should at least partake of that increase. And we can only do that if we're able to increase our production levels and trade internationally. And I think one area of trying to achieve that is by actually supporting women entrepreneurs within the country, so that they can also equally contribute to the same.
Okay, the other issue that comes out usually when women are getting to be independent, whether through business or they've gotten jobs, is the issue that they seem to be competitors with men. How best can a woman work with men as partners?
Generally, I think is to be confident, because if you're confident and you actually see yourself as and somebody who's equally capable, you don't need to compete with anyone, even if they're a man. Because if you think you're equal, then you're likely to deliver more. Actually, competition can slack you down, because now you're focusing more on trying to prove a point to somebody. Yes, when you should be focusing on bringing more returns for yourself and your business. So I think there is no need for competition. We are all human beings, equal parties on the market, and let's play the game equally.
Okay, that's quite insightful. The other issue is that I don't know if it's the way we've been raised or the way society looks at us. We feel that, okay, when I've gone to secondary school, I've had the chance to go to university, I get my degree, then I'm finished.
Yeah.
Or it's either if I start a business, as long as I am able to feed my family, that's done for me. Maybe what more vision should women have in growing themselves or even their businesses?
I think the key word is what you've already mentioned, vision. What we like is the ambition, the vision, to actually see ourselves as more than just getting a degree, as more than just feeding your family. I'm a woman, so I know sometimes you're just looking to say, as long as I get a job where I'm able to dress myself, I'm going to get a husband who's going to pay the rentals, who's going to feed my children. But I think we should be ambitious. We have the likes of Oprah Winfrey. Yes. They are on the list, the top 20 of people who are richest people actually in the world. So I think we should be ambitious enough, and not settle for less, not be satisfied. And we are the change that we need. So we can't just be complaining how Malawi is a poor. We are in poverty right now. It's not a poor country because we're rich, in resources, but we can't just keep complaining how things are not right when we ourselves are not doing anything about it. So we have to be the change that we need.
Okay, now I'm going to focus on you. You're quite an accomplished young lady. Most of the standards that we've set for ourselves.
Sure.
So you look at young women, all we're looking forward to is, okay, after finishing my education, maybe if I venture into business, the only focus is I'll get married someday, without thinking of yourself first. What is your message to young women?
I think even if you eventually get married, you have to take care of yourself first for you to have a successful marriage. And I think in this day and age, this is not the time whereby you should be looking at your husband, the guy for everything. We should be self-sufficient, and that in turn leads to a happy marriage. Because even men out there, they're not looking for a woman who's just going to be begging and asking for everything. That a man do, not in 2018 in this day and age. So I think women out there should, like I already said, be ambitious, aim high, and just do it. You don't even need to have a job. Start small, and let it grow. And sometimes maybe some people say, I actually believe that every person is cut out for business, by the way. I believe every person is cut out for entrepreneurship. And sometimes it's just, focusing on the things that you're passionate about. You love cooking, do something about it, work on it. And sometimes it's also not about the kind of business. There are people who have actually made, my mom bought her first car using mandasi.
Yes.
So it's not about the type of business that you're doing to say, okay, fine, this business can only take me this far. Any business can take you as far as you want it to take you if you dream big and you put so much effort into it.
Perfect. The other issue is that when we're going into business, there's so many issues involved in business, whether you're going to import some things from outside the country or you're doing a local business that you can gather resources within. But there's still issues like to do with the MRA, or how do you go about the taxes? Maybe how should women maybe focus on broadening their knowledge with business?
I think when you talk about taxes and policies, that's a big one. That's a big one. That really would need a lot of policing around it to mitigate that.
Yes.
And that's a challenge, especially for women, because most of the people that actually do cross-border trading are women. Most of the people that go South Africa, Dubai,
Yes.
Tanzania, China are women. So the women are the most affected by the MRA taxes on the border. So I think that just requires us, like I'd also say, to stand up and speak out. Because we're the ones feeling the pinch, we should be the ones to stand up, speak out, and policies change. They're meant for the people. So if they're not working for the benefit of the people, they can change, they
Yes.
should change.
All right. The other issue, lastly, as we're about to close, is that among the women's circles, there's this syndrome of trying to put each other down.
Exactly.
It's everywhere. You know, you see one of your friends or someone you know is doing better. Instead of you maybe speaking highly of them, you tend to bring out the darker side of them.
True.
What should women do maybe to support each other better?
I think, like I said, if we should partner, we should partner. You know, if you're able, if we should also understand that in business you cannot make it on your own. You always need partners. You need somebody to speak about you somewhere else. You know, because in businesses it's always about somebody else referring to you, a client, a customer, and something like that. So I think women should partner. And if we want men to actually believe in our abilities or our skills, we ourselves need to believe in our abilities and our skills. So if I, as a woman, I'm speaking badly of another woman, there's no way a man is going to actually believe in that other woman. So we ourselves should be one. We should be united and try to support each other. Like I'd also mentioned about the partnerships that we can have. You know, conduct trainings to actually try to sharpen each other's skills. For instance, now the Commonwealth Business Women that has just been introduced to in Malawi, that's one of the platforms that can be used to bring different business women together, because it's vast. There are different sectors. So any woman in any kind of business has a sector they can fit in, and so there you have a chance to network with other women who are in a large business, medium scale business, and small businesses. And that way, I think if we have such a platform and women actually get to interact one on one, there's nothing that can stop us.
All right. Thank you so much for sparing your time to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's where we've come to the end of this program, Frontiers, right here on Timpani Television. We were talking to Prisca Chipao, sharing on women in business, especially Malawian women in businesses, or rather entrepreneurship. You have been with me, Ezelina Kamaliza.